Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again as always with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. A little earlier this morning.
We're recording in the morning. A little switch up here. Trying something different. Frankly, it probably makes more sense on Mondays than it does on Wednesdays.
Potentially. I feel like I still have a little bit of the sleepy eyes, but I'm coming in with some energy.
Hey, you live and learn.
Live and learn.
That's what it's all about. Chris, you started working your way through some of the classic Dave Chappelle stand-up specials, speaking of learning.
I did.
In an effort to become more cultured and less swine.
Sure.
How's it going?
It's going great. I really thoroughly enjoyed the two that I watched yesterday.
Which ones did you watch?
I'm going to go on YouTube, check my YouTube history real quick to make sure I...
Big YouTube guy, this one.
Yeah,
the
huge
Gen
YouTube
Zers,
guy.
they love their YouTube.
Let's see. I watched Killing Them Softly.
The 2000 special?
I believe so, yes.
Probably my favorite.
It was fantastic. And then I watched For What It's Worth.
Don't remember which one that is.
This one he's
Looking
in,
it up.
I think, Philly.
2004. So 2000 and 2004. Which
2004 was the one that I text you about and was like, yo, this Dave Chappelle is talking about R. Kelly and Michael Jackson in 2004. Like, what the fuck was society doing for the next 16 years?
Yeah, man, that went on forever.
Yeah. He was talking about, like, literally in the same bit, goes from talking about R. Kelly pissing on dudes to Michael Jackson, like, touching children. And I was like, bro, this is in 2004. Like, what were y'all doing?
There were quotes like, or maybe he did it. Who knows? Who knows? That's the thing. That's what I want to say. Who knows? Who the fuck knows? My God, and this little boy, no, that's about it. That's about it. Only reason I can't even talk about this shit is everybody's speculating. They all think he did it, and I don't think he did it. I'm alone in this. I don't think he did it. I'm not going to say I don't think he did it. That's too strong. And then he just keeps going. But, yeah, man, the stuff with Michael Jackson especially went on. It was forever. That was like a thing. People knew, but didn't know. Because nobody ever got,
like,
he never got fully charged,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
everything was always taken care of
anecdotal and shit
outside
like
of
that.
court
Sure.
or whatever. I mean, there was all these accusations, and obviously when you have accusations against one of the most famous people in the world, you have accusations snowball. Some of them end up being not true, which brings, some power or whatever to the group of people who think that it's all not true.
Yeah.
It was a mess, man. It was a mess. It was honestly like it's not like it was solved when Michael Jackson passed.
Yeah.
Like it
It's just
wasn't. He
more-
just passed,
Well,
and
even
everybody was like,
now-
"Oh, thank God, we don't have to worry about this shit anymore."
Yeah, even now, like, even after the, Return from Neverland and shit like that, whatever that documentary was called that came out, that everybody was like, holy hell, all of this actually happened. But then, even after that, there were people, like, protesting, not really, but, like, people were still out saying, like, nah, we don't think Michael Jackson did it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a
Interviews-
tough thing. I mean, look, frankly, a lot of the stuff with, like, Michael Jackson, with R. Kelly, you could even go back and pick out O.J. Simpson if you wanted to, although it's really a weird example.
He talked about OJ in the stand-up special as well. He was, like, talking about how, he was like, to white people, he was like, yeah, how's it feel? How's it feel when the system works against you?
Yeah, that's the
White
thing I was
people
going to
was
say
mad.
is that
Very
that's
funny.
a tough thing for Black America. I mean, Bill Cosby is another example, and with everything that Black people have been through in this country, it's not hard to understand why so many of them were like, nah. This is like Whitey trying to set up our guy.
Sure.
Now, I don't think in any of those cases that was the case.
No.
Any of the cases that we just named, obviously. O.J. Simpson,
To have icons
quite
of-
guilty looking. Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, quite guilty looking. Bill Cosby currently going through the process of being guilty.
But to have icons of your culture consistently, not consistently, but
Well,
like,
it's to have the biggest icons, not just of your culture, but like Michael Jackson was the most famous person in the world, and he was Black.
yeah,
Like that was an amazing thing for
Yeah,
Black people
yeah.
in America, especially, and for it to all come crashing down was brutal. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not sure how much I don't know how much being Black had to do with Michael Jackson. I mean, let me put it this way. Fame is the poison there to me.
yeah, 100%.
Fame is the thing that at the end of the day, when you're the most famous person in the world, and when you're one of the most famous people in the world, whatever, that's a lot.
obviously
and
it has nothing to do with them being
If you
Black,
never had
but,
any
you know.
childhood, and I meant that from like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
perspective
of
of it's like it's unfortunate that these are black celebrities
Of
we're
course,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
in
yeah.
this instance, but obviously it's about
The fame that
the way
poisoned
that
them.
fame in this country and that pop culture in the United States impacts our most important, arguably, icons and celebrities. And it's something that we've seen over and over, white, black, Asian, Latino, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fame is tough for human beings to deal with, especially in the case of guys like Michael Jackson, who didn't really have a childhood or had a fucked up childhood. And then it very quickly became mixed in with being one of the most famous people on earth.
Well, you see the shit with like Disney stars now in today's
Yeah, it's
day and age.
tough,
Like
man.
look at like Miley Cyrus, and luckily she's kind of, you know, now she's really finding herself, and I think finding her
She
voice.
seems happy.
And, yeah, seems very happy now. But like for a while
Britney
there,
Spears is
she
the
had
ultimate example
Britney
right
Spears,
now,
yeah. But
She
for a
doesn't
while
seem
there,
happy.
Lindsay Lohan, like the public. They always go through this public like freak out phase where they're like trying to find themselves in the public eye and go kind of crazy because they don't know how to really handle anything because they grew up as childhood stars.
Yeah, they love doing this shit with the female celebrities too. You know, if you notice, it's never the male celebrities that get branded as crazy until it's like, you know, Kanye or somebody actually doing it outwardly for themselves.
That's good. point.
Kanye's just yelling into the ethos like, "I'm insane."
Back to Chappelle though, I had a quick question, something that came to me last night because you've been a big fan of Chappelle for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I have like up until a year ago, I don't think I'd even watched a full Chappelle stand up, and even then that was like his 2019 Netflix one. So I'm just now getting more into Dave Chappelle and like learning more about his career and stuff like that. But one thing that popped in my head, like because he talks about a lot of like touchier subjects
Mostly.
as the rise, like as PC culture has been on the rise, has he had to like stay kind of like right on the cusp of that throughout his career? Like, has he been plagued by the rise of PC culture?
Nah.
Like, no. Okay.
No, it's been really funny to watch him operate because obviously when you go back and watch his stand up from the year 2000, from the year 2004, from before PC
Before
culture
that,
really
yeah.
rising to prominence. Yeah, he says a lot of shit that's super inappropriate, very offensive. He was almost like, I mean, but you got to keep in mind, all comedy was more like that.
Yeah.
All comedy had more free reign to kind of pick on people because we didn't have this giant outburst of politically correct cancel culture yet. Okay, so when Dave came back onto the scene, when Dave Chappelle kind of came back into the game a couple years ago, I was super interested to see how that would play, being the dude who was constantly Dave Chappelle to me is like a social compass.
Sure.
Okay, this is the guy that in our culture, I know I can go listen to his show and get a really good feel for what's going on with my country and my people, right? Like, he gives you a ton of stuff that's relevant to here and now in his stand-up specials. That's one of the things that makes him so great. It's almost like South Parkian in the way that Dave will give you humor and very important social commentary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, even go back to listening some of his older ones, like shed away some of the, like, what people now may consider to be a little bit more inappropriate. Shed that away. The core message still translates perfectly to today's America.
Well, and this is something that we actually discussed on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, our TV and film podcast here at Bolen Media a couple weeks ago. Barrett and I talked about how because we went back and Barrett watched season 1, episode 1 of Chappelle's show.
Yeah, we watched
right
it.
when you and I did.
Oh,
just
really?
coincidentally, because
Okay.
it came on Netflix and I believe Amazon too, or it's in 2 places. One of them is Netflix. I know that for certain.
100%.
And we were talking about how that has aged, and that there were a few jokes in there in episode 1 where Barrett was sort of questioning whether or not they were okay now. And I was first of all saying, like, that's not really how comedy works. Like, you can't go back and watch specials from 20, 30 years ago and expect them to hold up now.
Yeah.
That's absolutely just not the way the culture works. And frankly, most of the time, comedy is the place where that envelope and line is being tested constantly.
Absolutely.
It's where it's always being
I mean,
tested.
you can even do that with like normal like sitcoms. Like
Yeah.
go back and watch Cheers now. Like there's things
Yeah,
in Cheers
yeah.
that wouldn't even fly today.
And then on top of that, it's just everything has changed so much in these past 15 years in regards to what you're allowed to joke about. So like
I would say even
what I was
half
saying, when
that.
Dave came back, I was interested to see how he was going to handle that.
Sure.
And whether or not he would still touch on hot button issues.
Absolutely.
Well, he immediately started making jokes about like the trans community and Trump, and the answer was like, no, he's clearly not going to avoid these things. He's going to continue to push the issues. He's going to continue to say things that rub people the wrong way in an effort to my stance on comedy is that if it is inappropriate, that's on the public to judge or whatever. But the comedian is still the comedian, is allowed to put that material out for the world.
And I think Dave does it in a way, like, it's almost a master class in making you think critically.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when people are offended by his jokes, it's because of their own discomforts
and insecurities.
Rather than what has anything. It doesn't have anything to do with Dave so much as the listener.
It's kind of like I was talking to our producer
a lot of
Myrriah
the time
earlier today about how, like, have you seen the stuff on Twitter about like some of the let's say more right-wing conservative commentators talking about the Harry Styles shoot, like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro?
No, thank God.
So, did you see any pictures of Harry Styles from the
No,
shoot?
also, I'm doing it. I'm really doing it.
Look it up. He looks good. I mean, he looks good and great. In
I
the
just
shoot.
don't
I wish I
really
could pull
care.
off a dress better than that. But anyway, like they're turning.
Is he wearing
into
a
this,
dress? Was that it?
He's wearing.
Oh
a dress.
yeah, I saw this.
And they're turning it into this like larger issue of like the decline of masculinity and culture, or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. To me, it just looks like a like some insecurities coming to show. But like,
hold up, because Harry Styles wore a dress?
Huh?
Because Harry wore a dress?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know, I've been paying attention to fashion for like the past
Forever.
I don't know,
Forever.
whole time. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Dude's been wearing jeans that we can barely get on our legs for like a decade now. The game has changed. Harry can wear a dress.
Yeah, he can wear a dress. He looks good in a dress.
You ever heard of Young Thug?
If I had pecs like that, I'd be wearing a dress too.
Young Thug's out there tag teaming music video bitches while he's wearing a dress. You go tell him he can't wear a dress.
Personally, I see it as like the more, like if you can be in tune with your masculinity enough to wear a dress, and you're like you've fully mastered it. Like
Who gives a fuck? His clothes. You're just putting fabric over your naked ass human body.
Yeah, you're looking good while doing it.
You know, if you want to dress up like a Charizard and live the life of a furry, you can do that. If you want to dress in a dress, whatever, man. Just don't make anybody else unhappy. You know?
Yeah.
Wait, why was this a thing? What were we talking
Because
about?
I was talking about how Dave. This is like everything that Dave does is it brings out those insecurities, and like this was just an example of how people in the media today like still kind of overlook those. Like they need to be called out. They're afraid to like look inward at themselves, and Dave does that masterfully. He makes people look inward.
Yeah, he's incredible for that reason, if no other reasons. I mean, hilarious on top of that. Just a very insightful dude that I genuinely believe means well.
And I think
at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me. If I can tell that, you know, Dave might make a joke here or there that's hurtful to me even, or to hurtful to, you know, the LGBTQ community or to black people or to whatever. And I think that's what you're signing up for. Like you're signing up for the real shit.
Yeah.
If you go watch Dave, and you're going to get it. And sometimes it's going to hurt. But you really have to ask yourself, like, what is this a reflection of? My reaction to his joke, what is that a reflection of? Is it a reflection of him? Or is it a reflection of something's wrong with society? Or is there something internally with me that's messing with me as a result of what he says? And that's if you're a comedian and you can get me to laugh and cry in the same special, and you can get me to think about important stuff, that's what makes him a great. And that's what makes Neil Brennan, his writing counterpart from Chappelle's show, a great as well. Like what I've spoken about, 3 Mics, one of my favorite stand-up specials ever from Neil Brennan, from anybody, but by Neil Brennan, which is also on Netflix, I believe, where Neil just masterfully goes through making you laugh, making you cry, making you think over and over and over and over throughout the course of the special. And I highly recommend that one for anybody who hasn't watched it. We should have made that my mental health minute for today, but we're going to have that at the end of the show because we forgot to have one on Monday. So anyway, wanted to open up with a little Dave Chappelle talk. He obviously hosted SNL recently. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more from Dave in the coming years as a result of where we're at societally. So keep powering through his specials in the meantime. I would definitely recommend watching his stand-up specials over Chappelle's show right now. If you had to pick one, like which one's more beneficial, it's definitely his stand-up specials.
I would say his show is more... a lot more just comedy based.
You're going to miss a lot. I mean, because so many of the sketch comedy is such that you do not hit every sketch. Like, that's why SNL is always getting ripped. It's impossible to pull off sketch comedy. It's like the hardest thing to do. So if you have 8 sketches in a television show, if 2 of them are really funny, that's a win, right? So like Chappelle's show, you'd watch it, and there would be a sketch that you were like, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then there would be a sketch that you're like, I'm not even sure what just happened. Like, what the hell was that? That was bizarre. So that's just the nature of sketch comedy. Whereas his comedy specials are like fully fleshed out pieces of like art. Masterful art.
When you when you go on tour and stuff like that, you get to test out your jokes over and over. You perfect them.
Well, they test out before they go on tour usually.
Yeah,
they'll do like a whole bunch of smaller joints, don't allow cameras, and test out material. And then every once in a while, somebody will leak that shit. That's fucked up. Don't do that.
But even then, still, I feel like getting the feel from a large crowd and stuff like that. You know, the deeper you get into your tour, the better you get at your delivery, your jokes. You perfect it a little bit every single time.
That's always the funniest thing about like when people are offended by Chappelle's jokes too, is I'm like, man, this is the most polished version of that joke after he ran it through like 300 crowds probably. Like, who knows how it started.
There's somebody out there that was in one of the test crowds.
That heard the OG version, yeah.
He's just like walking through life broken and dismantled from hearing that one Dave Chappelle joke. Just a sad, lonely soul.
I'm rich, bitch! RBP 350 is also brought to you by Felix Gray. Chris and I constantly have our faces in screens from morning to night, just like so many of you now in 2020. There's no getting away from these screens. We're relying on technology to get our jobs done, to stay in touch with friends, stay in touch with family. And there are a lot of blue light glasses on the market, but they are not all created equally. Many of them do not offer enough protection. They don't filter enough blue light, especially in the range that matters. That is not the case with our sponsor, Felix Gray Glasses. They make the best blue light glasses in the game with a proprietary filtering technology to filter 15 times more blue light in the same range. Too much screen time results in tired eyes, dry eyes, headaches, blurry vision, trouble sleeping by the end of the day. I've been wearing contacts and glasses since I was a little kid. I'm too familiar with all these symptoms living in Austin, Texas, one of the worst places in the world for allergies, and I've got those. So my eyes, man, by the end of the day, they're worn out, which is why so often you'll see me on Twitch rocking my Felix Grays. They filter out 90% of blue light in the most damaging range and eliminate 99% of glare through a proprietary industry-leading lens technology only available in Felix Gray. 9 in 10 Felix Gray customers report significant symptom relief. Over 200,000 happy customers. They're incredible. They've got prescription, non-prescription, readers. Felix Gray has you covered with optical glasses for work and sleep glasses in the evening that are clinically proven to increase melatonin secretion when worn leading up to bedtime. And you can try them for 30 days risk-free when you go to felixgrayglasses.com/RBP for the absolutely best quality blue light glasses, blue light filtering glasses on the market. I've got the Faraday frames as well as the Nash. Check out both of those, Faraday and the Nash, at felixgrayglasses.com/RBP, FELIXGRAY glasses.com/RBP. Do what I did. Start taking better care of your eyes today. Feel better, work smarter. Shipping and returns totally free at Felix Gray, felixgrayglasses.com/RBP. Now time for some announcements and shouts. Happy birthday, Weston, coming up December 4th. Thank you for all the support, dude. To watch our podcast, go to youtube.com/Bolen Media, where we put up full video of every episode every single Monday and Wednesday. So if the show's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can also find it on youtube.com/Bolen Media. Coles has a very special birthday.
Happy birthday to my pug from back home, Otis.
His dog. It's a pug.
It is.
Otis.
He is very cute.
He's a gangster.
He's a brindle pug, so he's not brown. He's like black and silver, kind of like all. He looks like a tiger, you know, very aggressive.
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and silver.
He could pounce at any time, or like a panther more, you know. Very agile. No, he's very chubby.
No, he's a pug.
Yeah, he looks kind of like a log. Actually, he looks like a gorilla all the time. He's got a bunch of different faces.
He does look a little
gorilla,
like a shrunken gorilla.
Well, it's because so pugs, like,
they got shoulders, man.
Yeah, and also he like twists his arms inward, kind of, you know, so his elbows are like outwards. So like, yeah, he looks like an angry gorilla. But I'll throw up some photos of Otis on the gram, on the stories. So if you want to see my chunky brindle pug, you'll get to see him later. But shouts to Otis, you know, made it 1 year. He almost died. He tried to leave us one time. He ate some poisonous mushrooms in our backyard.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at like 7 months old. They were like, dude, if he was any older and his metabolism was any slower, your dude was going to die.
I just had 2 characters pop into my head that resemble
Ren and Stimpy?
pugs. Two of them. One is Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad, and the other is Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. Both should have been pug people.
Oh, should have had pugs?
Yeah, you know how you need a dog that looks
Actually,
like you.
Tony Soprano definitely could have been pugged. Like, if he had a pug, I wouldn't have been shocked at all. He kind of needs a pug. That would have made him a more well-rounded character.
Yeah.
Shame.
It was a shame that Tony never had a dog. Things would have gone totally differently for the Sopranos family had they just had a family fucking pug.
Exactly. Yeah, think about where America would be if the Trump presidency had a dog, dude. That's all I'm saying. We probably have like.
I really don't want
cars
to.
by now.
They would have forgot about the dog. He'd be dead in the basement.
Oh,
He hadn't
wow.
eaten in 3 weeks.
Ooh.
That's
Nah,
what would have happened.
He would have been eating all the McDonald's scraps and shit like that. He'd be fine. And Diet Coke.
If you want to see our faces, you can also do that on Twitch a few times a week, live on twitch.tv/bossrollin, which is Ross Bolen with the B and the R reversed, where Chris and I go and we play video games like Call of Duty, the new Black Ops Cold War. We've been playing Zombies. We've been playing Warzone, obviously. We work in some Fall Guys, some Among Us, some Apex Legends, and we play with podcast listeners pretty much every time we stream on twitch.tv/bossrollin. We will be live next on Wednesday, November 18th at 7 p.m. Central. We'll probably be live earlier than that, but come through at 7 if you want a hard time. And then again, tomorrow, Thursday, November 19th at 7 p.m. Central. We're going back-to-back because Chris and I are going to take some time off next week for Thanksgiving, obviously, so giving y'all some extra streaming time this week. Twitch.tv/bossrollin. Come through when we're live. Support the stream. Follow, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Another huge announcement, last one. Our TV and film podcast and entertainment podcast here at Bolen Media titled Oysters, Clams, and Cockles made some huge announcements this week regarding how the show will operate moving forward. And the fact that we will be doing an ad-free podcast per episode of The Sopranos, starting with Season 1, Episode 1 in December of 2020. So subscribe to Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, wherever you listen to RBP. If you love TV and movies and entertainment and pop culture in Hollywood, you will love OCC. I promise you will love it. We have made the show now accessible to everybody. It does not require you to have watched anything to listen anytime, starting now. Because this year was very viewership intensive. It required Barrett and I, my co-host, to watch hundreds and hundreds of hours of television and movies. Obviously, that's unrealistic for our audience to keep up with. As such, we made some shifts in the way we're going to be handling the podcast. It's going to be much more general entertainment, television, film, and pop culture talk on a week-to-week basis. If you want a good feel for how those episodes are going to operate, the last 3 episodes of our show, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and on youtube.com/Bolen Media, where you can watch RBP as well, are a good example of how OCC will operate moving into 2021. So if you're somebody that used to listen to OCC when we did Game of Thrones coverage, if you loved it, you're going to love it again, I promise. Come back, check it out, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Again, if you're listening to RBP, you can find OCC wherever you are right now. All right, now it's time. First segment. How many Americans don't think the election is over?
How many, Ross?
Chris, we couldn't not talk about this today.
Sure.
But I figured we would open with it as our first segment and then wash away the pain with positivity and humor during the remainder of today's episode. But these numbers are wild, man, from Reuters. Is that how it's pronounced?
It is now.
Uh-huh. About half of all Republicans, believe President Donald Trump rightfully won the U.S. election, but that it was stolen from him by widespread voter fraud that favored Democratic President-elect Joe Biden, according to a new Reuters Ipsos opinion poll.
Ipsos factos?
Not sure. The November 13th to 17th opinion poll showed that Trump's open defiance of Biden's victory in both the popular vote and the Electoral College appears to be affecting the public's confidence in American democracy, especially among Republicans. Altogether, 73% of those polled agreed that Biden won the election, while 5% thought Trump won. But when asked specifically whether Biden had rightfully won, Republicans showed they were suspicious about how Biden's victory was obtained. 52% of the Republicans said that Trump rightfully won, while only 29% said that Biden had rightfully won. Asked why, Republicans were much more concerned than others that state vote counters had tipped the results toward Biden. 68% of Republicans said they were concerned that the election was rigged, while only 16% of Democrats and one-third of independents were similarly worried. Now, here's the thing.
68%?
When I look at this big picture, I can notice one very specific identifying factor here, if you will.
Sure.
All right? Everybody in this pool that believes this, who is telling them this?
Parlay.
President Trump, the actual guy, right? So there's one dude, the guy most impacted by this whole situation, the dude who lost, who's telling everybody, I didn't lose. Literally everyone else in the world, every news network, every other government in the world that I'm aware of that matters, has acknowledged at this point that this thing is over.
Yes.
None of these lawsuits are working. They're finding like little bullshit problems at some of the voting places, but like nothing that's going to change any of this. It's over. It's over. But if you're only getting your messaging from one guy, and that guy is yelling, literally, all day, every day on social media, that this entire thing is a fraud, that the election has been stolen, and that essentially American democracy has been destroyed. Yeah, you're going to have, I mean, that's 70 million people voted for the guy. 73 million or some shit now?
Mm-hmm.
That's a ton of people. That's a lot of people who believe this dude. So, of course, we're going to have a ridiculous issue here at this point where a massive, massive amount of Americans have lost at least partial faith in our democratic system. And nothing about what Trump has done throughout the course of his almost 4 years in office has made me angrier than this. Because this is something that will take the rest of my lifetime to repair.
I don't know if this will ever be repaired.
If ever. Yeah.
Like, well, it'll probably die with our generation, but I don't know if this will ever be repaired. Like, there will be people now for their entire lives that will think this election was rigged in some way, shape, or form, no matter what people say.
Perhaps that they all are moving forward.
Yeah. And like, who knows what this leads to? You know what I mean? Like, this sets a precedent.
And that's obviously the scary part, and that's what causes so much anxiety for people, is that this is like...
I'm not even talking necessarily right now. I'm just saying, like, with the rise of conspiracy theories, et cetera, this could could be twisted and turned and contorted for years and years that lead to these wide-stringing, wide-webbed, far-reaching conspiracy theories that continue to add to the hysteria that surrounds the things like QAnon, et cetera, Like, it's terrifying to think of what could come out of the questioning of our and like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, there's a difference. Yeah, questioning the democratic system, please do that every day. But questioning the voting system and then not finding anything and then continuing to scream about it is a totally different animal.
Yes, of course. Question everything all the time. I'm a huge proponent of that, absolutely. But like, when there's
you have to find evidence, man. That you can't just tweet over and over that they weren't allowing Republican counters into the polls or whatever. Like,
for example, like,
I don't understand. The letting this. I don't know how we fix this. I don't know how we fix the amount of people who are not only misinformed, but at this point just being misled by somebody who clearly doesn't care about the repercussions.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's not going to be around much longer in terms of office or in terms of like time and space. He's an old fucking man. And he doesn't have a dog in the fight, I don't think.
But the thing that worries me is...
Also doesn't have a dog.
The thing that worries me is this also creates a potential for, like, Trumpism.
Well, it's already there.
Continue.
That exists. That's already done. That's over. If you think that Trumpism is ending when Trump leaves office, you're thinking way too positively. That's not going to happen.
Oh, no, I don't.
I don't mean you. I mean just in general.
This just, like, creates a scenario in which people can, like, this is like a martyrdom almost. You know what I mean?
That's what he's doing with it. I mean, he'll never concede this. He will never admit that he lost the election, and he will drag people down with him for the rest of his days. And then, hopefully, his children will have the wherewithal to not continue that, but they probably won't. And they will probably... That's the real issue with this whole presidential election, with the whole Trump thing, is that normally, a guy leaves office, and they can even be polarizing. George W. Bush. But the second he was out, nobody gave a fuck. Like, not in... I don't mean people don't have love for W or, like, respect for him or hate for him, because there are a lot of both. But nobody cared what George W. Bush thought anymore when he was done being the president.
But he couldn't run again.
It wasn't about, like, true, but at no point... I mean, there's also not been that many one-term presidents
There's only been
Last one was HW.
I think there's only been like 3.
And I was a fucking small boy. And all I remember is my papa had a framed photo of HW on his desk giving the middle finger to the camera. And I think underneath it said, "Read my lips, no more taxes." I think, which is funny because he raised taxes.
Taxes.
If I remember
Texas?
correctly. Taxes. In Texas. Anyway, I think it's important for everybody to know. And again, it always is funny to me. Whenever we talk about politics, I immediately get labeled as a liberal and called all of the things that people on the right like to call liberals. I'm just telling you, you need to know this. You need to know the amount of people who believe in your country that this election was either stolen, isn't over, or was not rightfully won. Because that's very important. And this is something we're going to have to talk about a lot in the future. Not just, I don't mean on this show. I mean as Americans in our lives.
It's not going to go anywhere.
This isn't going away. So the more of us that have an understanding of what happened, that are willing to read and research and look into real news sources from journalists that have reported on this, the better off we'll all be. So I encourage you, you don't have to go off of what I'm saying. You don't have to go off of Reuters. But go read. And don't read Parler or you have to have sources. You have to have journalists. You have to have people who are credited and that have reputations for reporting the truth.
That's the thing. Anytime that
they're out there.
Anytime that I talk to somebody that is convinced that the election was a fraud, was stolen completely, et cetera, the sources that they use have no factual basis to them. Like, it's just somebody's like blog post that is talking about hearsay or a secondhand account or anecdotal evidence. Like, let me just, for example, let me put it this way. Did you see that interview on Fox News with the poll worker of the lady that was blurred out in black and they changed her voice, et cetera, et cetera? All right, so they had this lady on that apparently was a poll worker from Nevada that talked about these trucks coming in that they thought were supposed to be bringing food, but it was at a time where like food wasn't supposed
I
to.
saw this.
Something like
this
that doesn't make any sense. Regardless, the lady that they interviewed that they blacked out apparently to keep her anonymous and changed her voice, the report that she submitted to Nevada didn't have her name on it, didn't have her address on it, no way to track her down, and then it was recanted. She took it back. So, like, all this evidence that they're bringing to the table has no basis.
Yeah, but
at
that was
all.
just one thing, man. There's 100 things they bring every day, and
They all fall. But
I completely understand people who are getting sucked into that side of it because it's if you only watch one side, you're only gonna get that message. That's what I'm saying. You got to go read and research for yourself. If you only watch Fox News and follow President Trump, I get why you think the election was stolen.
But Fox News is like not. Fox News is saying that it wasn't stolen. Like they've announced.
But what channel did you watch that on?
Fox News.
They still run out people every day that say it was stolen. They run out Tucker Carlson every night who says it was stolen.
Okay, true.
Fox is still Fox. I know they've got people that also report semi-well, but they also have most of the clowns that are fucking with our current system. Just go read for yourself, research, and try not to look at it as a political issue. I mean, too many of us are attached to the labels of Republican and Democrat at this point. I think it's become pretty clear that these teams aren't necessarily the best. So maybe just take off the label and think of it as an individual human being. RBP 350 is also brought to you by Echelon. Everybody knows that Chris and I are both on the Ross Fit grind, coming out of this shitstorm of a year harder, better, faster, stronger, like 2007 Kanye West. When it comes to getting or staying in shape, nothing feels as good as that feeling of accomplishment, of hitting your fitness goals and feeling great about yourself, and Echelon can get you there. Echelon offers the next generation of connected fitness bikes, fitness mirrors, rowing machines, and their all-new Stride Smart treadmill. No matter what your favorite fitness activity, Echelon gives you a fun and challenging workout from the comfort of your home. Their world-class instructors will motivate you with thousands of daily live and on-demand studio-level classes available when you need them. Unlike their competitors, Echelon is affordable for everyone. Too many of these fitness bikes and mirrors, they're ripping you off. Far too expensive. Echelon's prices are insane comparatively. You have to go look, and one membership on Echelon lets you have up to 5 family members all work out at the same time. Right now, you can try any Echelon fitness equipment at home for 30 days when you go to echelonfit.com/Ross. That's ECHELON fit.com/Ross to try any Echelon fitness equipment at home for 30 days. Next segment. The Houston Texans email Ross couldn't ignore. I'm Ross.
This is Ross.
I'm Ross. This morning I woke up to an email from the Houston Texans franchise. You know, when you're a season ticket holder or when you're a fan of a franchise and you get on their email list somehow, and they send out these emails, right? And they send out emails just like any other company that you end up on their mailing list. They have all these promotions. They want you to buy season tickets. They want you to check out their holiday package. They've got new hoodies for Christmas, whatever, Like getting emails every day, right?
Of course, yeah.
I just delete them, right? I move on. If I see Houston Texans, I laugh, I delete. This morning, though, I get one that I could not delete.
Caught your eye.
The subject is a message from the president of the Houston Texans. Now, first and foremost, don't know who that is. I just assume it was Bill O'Brien, and now there's a new guy.
Sure.
Don't know.
Sure.
So I think to myself,
hey, this could be, insightful maybe?
Maybe he's saying sorry.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
Or
I feel like I deserve an apology. This has been hell on earth watching every Sunday for the past 11 years or whatever.
Maybe like, hey, guys, I know we've been on a downhill spiral, but, we've gotten rid of some key proponents. We're
some
pivoting
key
in another...
pieces. Yeah, we giving away our key pieces.
Yeah, we gave away our best. Yeah,
so I start reading it, right?
Direction.
Here's what it says.
Okay.
Dear Texans Nation.
Sure.
Congratulations on your book.
Oh, you have a book?
Why do I say that?
Why?
Because my new book, The Winning Game Plan, is based primarily on my amazing experiences with the best fans in the NFL. You. To help you share in the excitement of your new book, I have created a special offer at Barnes & Noble for Texans fans. For the next few days, you can download the Nook ebook of The Winning Game Plan for just 99 cents.
Wow.
It's my way of saying thank you for being a cherished friend the past 2 decades. To take advantage of this offer, simply click the button below. If you like the book, and why wouldn't you? It's about you. I really says that. I'm not joking. Please be sure to leave a 5-star review at Barnes & Noble. It's been a great blessing to me and my family to lead this amazing franchise. The best is yet to come. And then it says, we are Texans, ! Jamie Roots, President, Houston Texans. And it has a little photo of his book that says The Winning Game Plan, a proven leadership playbook for continued business success by Jamie Roots. And he's holding in the fucking photo on the cover of the book a football, a pigskin with a Houston Texans logo on it. And I would just like to point out this is the same franchise that is currently 2-7 after trading away the best receiver in the NFL for peanuts and firing their head coach / GM / offensive coordinator / human resources lady Bill O'Brien for utter incompetence over a several-year stretch. Why the fuck, sir, would anyone read a book about winning by you? You have never won anything. And how dare you email us this shit in the midst of sports fuckery like I've never seen before? I don't know who the fuck this guy is. Jamie Roots? The Winning Game Plan? If it was called The Losing Game Plan, I would think it was funny and buy it. What the fuck? We don't win anything. This could be anybody. Any generic white guy holding a football with a book, The Winning Game Plan, this is my football team. I don't know who this human being is. And we suck. And we've sucked forever. Nobody thinks you're a winner. What?
Hey,
bro, this is insane, though. This is like me writing a book called, Mathematical Equations That Will Change the World by Ross Bolen. What the fuck? I can't even add. I can't do simple fucking math. Why would I do that?
So you don't feel that this is your book?
I don't feel like it's my book or written about me. What an insane email. It's 99 cents. This is just basic marketing 101. Make your dumbass reader feel like it's really for them. It's my way of saying thank you for being a cherished friend the past 2 decades. Sir, for the past 2 decades, you've brought us mostly pain and suffering.
He's been the worst friend possible.
You're
not
the
a
friend I
cherished...
didn't know I had.
Yeah.
That is actually ruining my life.
Exactly. Yeah. He's given you nothing, and you've given him everything.
And
he
why
continuously
wouldn't you?
lets you down.
It's about you. It isn't about me.
Unless
it's about you, Jamie.
Unless it's about pain and depression.
I don't understand how he did a full book, though. What are the chapters about?
Bro, it's...
Losses to the fucking Bengals in the playoffs?
This actually makes a lot of sense. It's probably pretty hard to run a football program when you're writing a book.
Yeah, he was. That's why we've never seen him. That's why I don't know who the guy is. He spent this entire time in his basement writing this book about winning.
The good thing is, though, now that the book is out, he can give it to all the players and the coaches, really turn the program around,
Now we're
and
gonna win.
really start winning. That's
No.
what this all is for.
Now we're ready to win because thankfully we have Jamie Roots' winning game plan. He finally finished the winning game plan. Somebody go tell Deshaun Watson it's time. We've got the winning game plan now. We're ready to roll. I could not cover this. I literally, though, I was cracking up. It's so ironic. I can't get over it. Like,
No, it's
the
hilarious.
intern typing that email had to have been laughing their ass off.
Yeah.
And then, like, gave it to Jamie. Like,
As
Jamie,
a joke?
is this email good? Is this email good enough, Jamie? Like, him and the other intern are, like, kicking each other under the table. And Jamie's like, my God, I should have had you write the book.
God damn. Maybe he did write the book.
Just unfucking real, dude. Anyway.
I mean, who uses like that's the worst marketing of take one fucking marketing how the fuck? This is your book?
This is what works now. This
No.
is how stupid we are. This is how
Okay,
stupid
maybe
we are.
it is.
I
I want to know the
we need
sales.
Basic,
We have to know the sales.
Basic lies will get you anywhere in 2020. it
This is
turns out.
your book. How is it
Basic-
your book?
Basic
Because it's about you.
Lies.
The
RB
fan.
RBP350 is also brought to you by NuCalm. Stress, sleep, recovery. Whether we're in the gym or at work, these things shape how we perform. Obviously, Chris and I very familiar with all these things in 2020, as are all of you. We're doing a small business here. It's just two of us. We like to work out in the mornings. We sometimes stream Twitch late into the evening. We've needed something to add to our daily routines to help make a noticeable difference. And for us, it's NuCalm, our new sponsor. It's imperative to your health and happiness to manage stress and not be managed by it, right? NuCalm gives you the power and control to relax and recharge anywhere, anytime. You can own the day with NuCalm. It's incredible. Coles and I both got sent our NuCalm subscription last week, I believe it was. Step one, you apply the NuCalm biosignal processing disc to your wrist. All right, it's just this little like sticker almost. It's a disc that sends signals to activate your brain's natural relaxation system by interrupting your adrenaline response. If this sounds like it might work for you and your anxiety or your panic attacks, that's exactly what it sounded like to me too, and it's been incredible so far. Step two is you open up the NuCalm mobile app on your phone. They've got a proprietary neuroacoustic software that delivers specific frequencies to slow brainwave function to levels required for optimal relaxation and recovery. Step three, you connect your headphones or earbuds. You start your NuCalm session with the NuCalm app. Pull down your NuCalm eye mask.
Comes with
Sit
an eye
back,
mask?
you relax, and you enjoy your NuCalm journey. It's incredible. Didn't even know stuff like this existed. Could not be more stoked to have them on as part of the program. So NuCalm is the only stress management system of its kind, clinically proven in over 1 million sessions to improve your sleep, to reduce your stress, and boost your recovery without drugs and side effects. For so many of y'all, you've hollered at me asking like, Ross, I want to treat my anxiety, or I need a way to help with panic disorder, but I don't want to do any drugs. I don't want to have any side effects. I don't want to have to get a prescription. I don't want to have to go to a doctor, whatever. Well, NuCalm's system uses cutting-edge neuroscience and consists of 3 non-invasive and non-pharmaceutical items, all of which are included in your monthly subscription that costs less than a daily cup of coffee. The whole process is easy to use and work into your daily routine to achieve better sleep, reduction in stress, and boost in recovery. Do what I did. Own the day with NuCalm. We have a special link set up specifically for the RBP gang. You go to rossnucalm.com and get 50% off your 30-day subscription of NuCalm and their money-back guarantee. That's Ross, R-O-S-S, N-U-C-A-L-M.com. rossnucalm.com. ROSSNUCALM.com. Go now, 50% off your 30-day subscription of NuCalm and their money-back guarantee. Next segment. All right, now it's time for the Mental Health Minute. I realized out of my anger for all these sports, on Monday's episode, I failed completely to produce a Monday Mental Health Minute, as is tradition.
Well, you were on the defense too. You know, there's a lot going on internally, and we all understand that.
I appreciate that.
Defend
And
the allegations.
look,
Spicegate.
obviously very shook by the James Harden situation. And on Monday, I forgot to do our Monday Mental Health Minute as a result. And this was a tough realization for me, right?
Hey, don't
like,
put it all on you. It's on me too,
It was
Ross.
tough in realizing that in preparing for an episode of this show, I actually let a sports ball game impact me enough to fail to do my Monday Mental Health Minute, which led me to remembering something. How important it is to ask myself this question when I get upset. Does this really matter? Because too often, I'm upset. I'll find myself, if I just consider down, ask that question to myself, what really matters? Does this really matter? It doesn't. And every day of our lives, we're presented with a plethora of reasons to be upset, annoyed, angry, anxious, saddened. But all too often, I have found if I take that time to stop and ask myself, why does this matter? The answer is, more often than not, it really doesn't. It doesn't matter. The Rockets are fun to root for. But man, this doesn't matter. We've got bigger fish to fry as a society. Sports are not the thing. I know I just got all worked up about the Texans, mostly in jest. Sports are a fun side gig of entertainment. Let me put it this way. Like, the way sports are incorporated into our culture at this point makes them seem much more important than they actually are. If it comes down to it, let's say you got you have a child that's sick with cancer, and this Texans email comes through. Are you likely to even click on it at that point? No, because in the grand scheme of things, your priorities have shifted, right? For me, it's often that I'll notice, man, I'm getting real angry about this. I'm just using sports as an example because for me it's the easiest one. Really upset about this thing. And then when it comes down to it, I realize the only reason I even have the ability to put that kind of anger, frustration toward that is out of being blessed, right? Because if I had a difficult life,
Sure.
then there would be other shit already preventing me from even enjoying sports in the first place that I could even get upset about. So, like, the way I've realigned sports in my head, and this has been a long time that this took for me, because there was a point where, like, I didn't miss a Rockets game, where I watched every single game, every single year, when we sucked, when we were good, when we had McGrady and Yao, and then in the in-between when, like, Luis Scola was our best player, was, like, when I was the biggest Rockets fan that I've been in my life, even counting now. Because I watched every single game, and it got to a point where I was like, this is actually becoming a large portion of my life. And it has nothing to do with me. I was a spectator. I'm a fan. It's not that important.
Sure.
What is important is my family and my friends and my livelihood and my home and my dogs and the things that I can actually impact and that I should be emotionally connecting with on a day-to-day basis. And that's sort of the thing that I find is if you get pissed off, it's often like little pet peeves for us as human beings, or like, you know, somebody was rude to you at the gas station, or you got cut off in traffic, or your boss was a dick at work.
You get shot in the back with a shotgun in Warzone from a guy camping in the corner.
You're getting pwned in video games over and over by 8-year-olds who are cursing your name through the microphone and making fun of you.
While jacked up on Adderall.
It happens.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, those are like such first world problems. And if you make a concerted effort to keep your how do I put this? Your baseline accurate, you'll be better off. So, like, all these unrealistic expectations come into play throughout the course of my day based on things that I interact with in media, mostly. Like, whether it's the news, or it's sports, or it's entertainment, these things impact my day, my mood, often for no reason, is what I have found. And that, you know, right now for a lot of y'all, it's watching the news too often. Staying on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whichever channel you're picking, and getting hammered with what is just stressors over and over and over and over regarding the election and coronavirus, etc. Now, obviously, we all need to stay informed on these things, but do we need to stay informed for like 6 hours a day, all day, every day? Absolutely not. No, that's not healthy for any of us in any way. And I mean, there's just always something to be upset about. If you allow yourself to lose perspective, which is a word that I've become obsessed with over the past year and a half, as many of you know, if you lose perspective, man, you can lose everything. And I shrunk a pair of my favorite pants the other day and almost lost my fucking mind. Does it matter? No, man. They're pants. I mean, we have pants sponsors, for fuck's sake. I don't even have to pay for pants anymore. How is that a thing that I actually let impact my mood? And after the fact, I often get like, then there's another thing to deal with, which is frustration with yourself.
Frustration
for allowing
getting
yourself
frustrated.
to get there. Yeah, which you got to be careful with that loop-de-loop. But we're very emotional and sometimes very silly-ass beings, humans. And sometimes we have to check that emotion to make sure it matches up with reality, right? With reality. And as a guy that struggles with depression in particular, and Coles, I'm sure you can identify with this, sometimes in my morning is when I'm most at like fuck the world place. And then if I check in with myself for real, and like, here's what I'll do lately. I'm like, what did I do yesterday?
Yeah.
And I'll walk myself through my prior day, okay? I'm like, man, that was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And what do I have on the docket today? And I'll look through it. And then I'm like, well, what is there to be so upset about? What is it that's giving me this like anger, this sadness, or this frustration, or whatever it is that I'm dealing with? And most of the time, it's like sitting on some other dumb shit that doesn't matter, like something that really doesn't matter that I just needed to address and let go of. And that is such a simple fix to so many difficult moments for me.
Yeah, I think
to regain perspective like that.
And I think we talk about mindfulness a lot as well, and I think the practice of mindfulness can really help with that too, of the gaining perspective and being able to both live in the moment and be able to address the issues that are going on throughout your life, but also you do have to be able to take a step back and look at the world as a bigger picture, you know, like where you play your role in all of this and what is important to you, what you can actually impact, and, you know, control what you can control. Like
yeah,
a lot of
I can also say this. It gets easy to get caught up in way too big of a fucking way of thinking. Like, you can't go into every day like, where is my space in the universe? Like, some days it's just got to be you as your mindfulness.
No,
like
of
that.
course
Some
not.
days it's
Yeah.
got to be that, like, what you're consciously aware of is
Well, I
your
think it should-
own emotion, your own space, and that. Because I mean, for me, that's often the thing that gets really overwhelming. Is I'm like, I can't get in the moment and I can't stay in today and enjoy myself and find peace because I'm like, I'm always trying to look huge picture or big picture or like trying to make sense of whatever in the world. And sometimes you just have to be like, no, this is where I can impact me right here and now. This is where I am, and I am in control of my shit, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's so tough, though, because you got to find the balancing act, because it is important.
For me, it's more like I try to think of it as like, so obviously you have to be present, living in the moment, accomplish what you can accomplish right now, and that'll build towards what's coming in the future. Because, I mean, I say it all the time, the past is solid, the future is fluid. The only thing you can control is the present. So... But with that being said, you can't just go through life without a plan, just like willy-nilly waiting, like being reactive. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just let the world continue to throw shit at you and react to it over and over, and wherever you end up, you end up. Like,
Sure.
For me, it's more like you kind of have this idea in your mind of what you want to be building to, but you understand that you can't live in this future fantasy all the time of where you want to be. The only thing you can do is, like what you're saying, control it right now. But you're right, it definitely is a balancing act, because you can't just like... I mean, you can't just like live in the existential all the time, the big world.
Yeah, you can get caught in that.
Yeah, exactly. Spiritualistic nature. You can definitely get caught in that, and that's how you let the little shit slip, because you're thinking like, that's not realistic. Obviously, I would like to think about how can I change the world every single day, but that's not real. Like, I can't live that way.
Well, you have to manage your own life and your own
Exactly.
things too, and that's, I mean, that can get really difficult, especially in a year like this one, where it seemed like there were so many things that we needed to attend to on a more worldwide level, or there are things that we clearly do need to attend to. So yeah, that's been a difficult balancing act for me this year more than ever, and in finding that time to really regain perspective, right? Yes, it's easy to watch the news, see all the lunatics, and be freaked out, but did you see any today, like in your real life? Maybe, probably not, right? Does that mean you shouldn't care? No, I'm not saying that. You should care. But should you care as much as you're letting it upset you? Probably not. And I've noticed too many people on both sides, who have let this shit drive them into a place of just utter misery. And I get it, but also, like, that's not worth it. I'm sorry. It's not. It's not. And as we always say, if you don't take care of you, if you're not in a good place, it's so difficult for you to be of value to anybody else. And if you can't find peace in the chaos, I hate to say that I think you lose some of your power there. So it's important. It's important. Don't let yourself become so used to the state of frustration, confusion, being upset that you seek out ways to remain that way because it's what's become comfortable. Remember, that's not supposed to be your resting state. RBP 350 is also brought to you by American Giant. It's more important than ever to support our local communities and businesses. A great time to be supporting the men and women making stuff in this country. Great time to be buying clothes that are made here in the USA. Did you know that in 1960, 95% of all clothing was made in the USA? Today, only 3% is.
Wow.
3%. American Giant, our new sponsor, has built a 100% USA-based supply chain with relationships to factories, workers, and communities at every step of the way. It's not the cheapest, but it makes for a better sweatshirt, and it's better for our people and the planet. Their clothing is durable, not disposable. It's incredible. They're reclaiming the American tradition of making high-quality clothes that last, worn more, and kept longer, built to last. Clothes used to last. And you used to be able to just have like 10 things, so you didn't need so much. You could have less. Clothes weren't made to end up in a landfill back in the day. And American Giant believes that's how they shouldn't be made. You can get 15% off your first order when you use the promo code Ross at American-Giant.com. Coles and I both got a T-shirt and their zip-down hoodie from American Giant. They're incredible, durable, thick with 2 C's.
Very well-made
is
material.
the hoodie.
Absolutely. T-shirt's mad soft, too.
Very soft. It's getting a bit chilly here in Austin as winter approaches, and it was a good time for me to get a new hoodie, and boom, American Giant, and it's incredible.
Comes in clutch. And with the zip, you can layer it,
Zip.
put on a nice T-shirt underneath it, give it a couple little color differentiation there.
Highly underrated feature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Highly underrated.
It can really bring an outfit together.
Seriously,
You
this
ever go
stuff is
for the hoodie
awesome. It's
inside of the
American
hoodie?
made. It's we all win.
Hoodieception.
Hoodieception. 15% off your first order when you use the promo code Ross at American-Giant.com. 15% off, code Ross, American-Giant.com. Next segment, Twitter unleashes Fleet. Fleet. You know, Chris, I was just laying down on Monday evening after we recorded our show and then did our Twitch stream, and I thought to myself, man, I just wish I had an outlet that I could, the stuff that I want to tweet, but it's like, well, this is a photo of my foot.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense as a full-blown tweet? I wish there was just another way to put it that
Sure.
wasn't so permanent. And then, my God, Jack Dorsey bestowed that upon us in fleets. And if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Ross, isn't a fleet just a Snapchat or an Instagram story?
That's what I was thinking, so
It is.
please enlighten me.
It is.
Oh, wow.
It's the exact same thing,
Holy
which makes
shit.
it revolutionary.
Holy shit.
It's kind of hilarious.
Capitalism breeds innovation, baby.
Twitter does this. Twitter has been, as a platform, much slower to join the rat race of, adding new features and adding. So basically, this is the way this thing has worked out, right? Instagram came out, and it was you put up a picture, and that's the feed. And then Snapchat came out. I'm not sure on the order here.
I think you're right.
But then Instagram was like, shit, that's our main competitor. Well, let's just put what they do into our app and we'll put our own Snapchat version of it. We'll call it Instagram Stories.
Yeah.
Voila, Instagram Stories were born. These apps are always trying to rip each other off, steal each other's thing, implement this new thing that was invented into the old app that's crushing. It's Facebook, obviously, behind a lot of this, and then you have Snapchat, you have Twitter. Those ones are all separately owned. Twitter never jumped into the stories game.
Twitter kind of ran on their own for a long time, even until recent. I feel like only within the last couple of years they've really tried to expand the Explore tab and allow you to do multiple pictures. And
Well, they really focused on that. The Explore tab and the news aspect of Twitter and how to find the headlines you need, and I think they've pretty much honed in on that. But
I actually really like the way that you
trending
can now
is set up
follow
well now.
topics.
Oh man, it's been crushing me lately. But yes, I love that normally. I get 40 tweets a day that are from the Houston Rockets topic that I'm like, I don't follow this person. I don't want to see this stupid tweet.
I personally, I don't follow a single
sports,
topic.
man.
I just like the idea that you could follow a topic if you want to.
That
but
whole
now
segment
with that
earlier-
being said, I don't know if I will be following topics. But I like that it's there.
Don't follow the Carolina Panthers. I'm telling you, sports-wise, the topics thing is bad.
It's too much,
And that segment earlier was clearly for me.
especially with Doomer.
Yeah.
Doom scrolling, I believe people call it, when you're just refreshing, looking for updates on the shittiness of either your sports team
Or the
your life,
election,
the
or
world.
your number one
Don't be a
professional
doom scroller.
athlete leaving you. That sucks. But yeah.
Jesus.
Twitter
God,
never
Twitter's
did
a-
this. They never did. They never found a more casual way, because a tweet is so permanent. And the way they've put it, as in Joshua Harris and Sam Havison's blog on Twitter.com, is that it says, but some of you tell us that, I'm just going to read this whole paragraph. Twitter's purpose is to serve the public conversation. It's where you go to see what's happening and talk about it. But some of you tell us that tweeting is uncomfortable because it feels so public, so permanent, and like there's so much pressure to rack up retweets and likes. That's why, unfortunately, there's so many fire emoji tweets left in drafts. To help people feel more comfortable, we've been working on a lower pressure way for people to talk about what's happening today. what's happening, period. Today, we're launching fleets, so everyone can easily join the conversation in a new way with their fleeting thoughts. Okay, so that's where the name came from. Twitter, tweets, fleeting, fleets.
Twitter tweets, fleeting fleets.
And here we are.
You're a poet, dude.
The funny thing is presenting it as if it's like this brand new concept, right?
Yeah.
It says that thing you didn't tweet but wanted to, but got so close, but then we're like, nah, we have a place for that now. Fleets. Rolling out to everyone.
Is that actually what it says?
Starting today. Yeah.
That's
so,
the most like 2020 like Gen Z marketing approach I've ever heard in my entire life.
And basically what they're encouraging people to do, I mean, they're marketing it and arguing as if it's a place for what you didn't want to tweet because it would have been too permanent. But it really is just like stories. It's more for photos. And like basically yesterday, I just ended up, every time I do an Instagram story, it saves that to my archive or to my photo camera roll. Well, so then I would just take it from the camera roll and put it in my fleet.
Which I feel like is just what Fleets is going to become for a lot of bigger names.
At
it's
first
just gonna
it
be
will,
the
for
same
sure.
thing as until it hits unless it does something different or hits a different demographic
Well,
or
here's
it's
the
more
deal.
shareable or it's something like that.
But Twitter is for takes. Instagram, not really. Not takes
That's a good
first.
point, actually.
Twitter takes first. Instagram was like,
So
here's my
how do-
fucking garden, and then it became takes through like content people figuring out how to utilize it.
So how does Fleet innovate a take or elevate a take using pictures?
I think it's going to be that people are doing more like video takes.
Sure.
Like, here's me giving you a take
Like
that I didn't
vlogging?
want to be a permanent tweet, but I
Yeah.
do want you to hear. I mean, really, it's honestly, Twitter has always been my favorite social media platform, and this is where they were lacking in the day-to-day casual engagement, right? It is so much more official and dramatic and scary than putting up an Instagram story. People don't feel comfortable tweeting like that, especially when they're uninformed or like don't know necessarily what the fuck they're talking about. Well, in a lot of cases, actually, that's what drives people to tweet. But this is an interesting thing. Twitter ran into an issue. They're not growing their usership. It's shrinking. That's the opposite of good when you have stockholders. And you have to find ways to keep people engaged and to make the platform fun. And that's where things like Instagram and Snapchat have continued to succeed, where Twitter has failed. It has become this like death trap of shitty news that you don't want in your own little bubble, right? Like from people you chose to follow or topics or whatever. And it's been flooded with bots, and it's been just made into be like, it's not what it used to be in terms of the casual nature, the fun, it's too much political shit mixed in. It's too much fake news mixed in. It's just become chaos. People are fleeing. Nobody wants to tweet. There wasn't a casual enough way to use it. Now fleets. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of shameless to have been like, nope, we're not joining the follow or the story craze that Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, by the way, Facebook also has that. And then like years later to just be like, never mind, we're in. We get it. Everybody liked those. Sorry. Fleets. So here we are. Another place we have to post stuff. If you didn't have enough already, congratulations. Get a fleet off.
Speaking of Twitter, I just went on Twitter to see if you could check fleets from a computer. And the first tweet that popped up was from the Rockefeller Center, in New York.
Oh, of course.
This is a quick little tangent.
Of course.
And they tweeted a picture of their tree, which has just gone up. And let me just say,
Their Christmas tree?
yeah, I feel like they could do a little bit better of a job on Christmas tree selection.
Oh, that's under construction. That's not a done tree.
They're
No, that's
constructing the tree? The live tree?
Is that a living tree?
Yeah, bro. Look at it. It's
Would they
like
get
a
that
Charlie
from
Brown.
Chernobyl? They were like, yeah, this is the one. Half of a tree.
It's the Charlie Brown Christmas
That
tree,
guy,
dude.
that is the 2020 Christmas
That's what
tree,
I was
bro.
gonna say.
That's the
Like,
tree to
was this
represent this year right
intentional?
there. That's absolutely. The guy in the forest was like, fuck it, cut that one down. They were in the first line. Bunch of thick trees in the background.
They
Nope.
Griswolded it, bro. They had to drag it behind the station wagon in 2020. Fell off the top.
Little full. A lot of sap. And that will do it. But before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. First and foremost, you've been saddled with 3 legal obligations as a result of having listened to this entire podcast. The first of which is that you must rate and review. 5 stars, 2 or 3 sentences about why you love the show, and move on to number 2. which is to share the show with one person. It could be a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, any one individual that you think would enjoy the Ross Bolen Podcast. Share the show with them today. One person this week, one person next week, one person every week until the week that you die. Wow. And then number 3, your third and final legal obligation as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, you must support our sponsors. We got 4 today. Big time. Felix Gray, go to felixgrayglasses.com/RBP. We got Echelon, go to echelonfit.com/Ross. We got NuCalm, and we also have American Giant. 4 sponsors for you to attend to.
Huge giants.
Click on them. Enjoy them. Use
Buy
the
them.
codes. Support the pod. You must. Support the pod, you must. I was finding the URLs for these other 2. RossNuCalm.com. That's Ross, NuCalm.com.
Dude, that's sick. They named the whole website after you.
I know, right? What are the odds? And then go get yourself some American Giant. American-Giant.com. Use the code Ross. American/Giant. dash. Not slash. Dash Giant.com. And then use the code Ross. Follow us on Instagram. At the Ross Bolen Podcast, where every day we fill up our story with photos and videos sent in by you, the listeners, the RBP gang. We collect them mostly through Snapchat. This is funny because now I think we may be also doing stories on Twitter eventually. But right now it's not for, there's only, the checkmark people, I think, are the only people who have fleets. Or at least we didn't have them on the RBP account yet last time I checked. But hopefully we'll have fleets soon. And then you can see the same things you see on Instagram stories on Flitter. Twitter? By the way, on Twitter, we're at Ross Bolen Pod. We're also on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. We put out updates about new episodes, videos and clips from segments in our YouTube, also announcements about when we're going live on Twitch and upcoming stuff from Bolen Media in general. So follow us on all those social medias and also at Bolen Media everywhere. And you can follow me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WRBolen, at WRBOLEN. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we'll be live Wednesday and Thursday night this week. Twitch.tv/BossRoland. Come through, watch Coles and I play some zombies and some Cold War and some Warzone and some whatever else we get into. Probably just the first 2, frankly, if we're being honest. Chris, where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS. And you can find me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
I've said it twice. I'll say it again. Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, wherever you listen to RBP. If you love TV and movies, you will love OCC. Starting now, we have made big changes to the show to make it more accessible so you don't have to watch 9 hours of TV and movies every week to keep up. Going more general entertainment, pop culture talk on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles moving into 2021. So subscribe wherever you listen to RBP. And, of course, you can also watch on youtube.com/Bolen Media. And tune in for that Sopranos coverage on Patreon in 2021 and starting in December, for OCC as well. That will do it for RBP 350, produced by Myrriah, Gossett, and Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We'll be back on Monday with RBP 351, Thanksgiving week. But, of course, first, this Friday on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast with another exclusive premium ad-free episode for dues-paying members of the RBP gang pledging their monthly support to keep the podcast showing and growing. Minimum of just $5 monthly on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP in exchange. You are not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Christopher.
Peace be with you.
And also with you.